Ballers, and welcome to the end of Expedition 33, at least for now, unless a DLC comes through. My god. I think it's safe to say the best game I've played in several years. I was really thinking back as to what would I say is as an overall package. It's not perfect by any means. It's got some issues. I've mentioned loadouts and the issues with scaling in some people's eyes, which I don't have a problem with. But I was thinking about it. It's like probably Baldur's Gate 3. And what I'm looking for in what I consider to be like an absolutely tremendous video game is not just that it's mechanically sound, its design is on point, which is all relevant here, but it shows care, love, and attention from the devs, and it's not plagued with the super mega corp overlords like just poisoning it that little bit and making you go, well, of course it has that, right? You know, you don't need to give away like... The obvious one would be, like, you don't need to give away all these haircuts and outfits in the game, you know? We could sell these for a couple of dollars. If they wanted Lune's toes to glow and things like that, we could sell that. It'd be like $5. You get this. We could do a battle pass, right? We could do all that crap. It's just a care, love, and attentive game where the devs had a vision, and they went for it. They went for it in a big way. So, yeah, it's easily up there with the best of the best out there. In terms of its genre and everything else. Really solid. So happy with it. We did a lot of stuff to clean up the game and finish it up. I haven't done everything. Like, I haven't leveled every character to 99 or give everybody 500 to 600 Luminas, because I did find out after we'd kind of done all the stuff I really wanted to do, it's like essentially you just need to farm it out. Like, reset an area. There's some mobs that drop several color of luminas. You just want to farm them for a couple of hours. Just grind it out, essentially. Not interested in that kind of stuff. That's fine. But where we left off yesterday, so I'll start with what we did and how I felt about it, was Simon. Okay, so I now know Simon is the hardest boss in the game. I did not know that while I was doing Simon. I had no idea, because the way I played the end game was like anywhere that I had traveled that I hadn't been in, we went there. So I just kind of went around the map, and if what's closest that I haven't been to, I went there. And so I discovered Simon, but Simon was doable. That was very clear. We got him to 2 or 3% on a very, very lucky pull. As I finished my stream, and all night I was considering options for Simon. I had tons and tons of ideas for what I was supposed to do here, because my Mael is useless. We're going to come back to Mael, by the way. My Mael was useless. My Monoko was pretty useless. Not totally, but pretty useless. So I'd made some changes, like I'd brought Mael into the team with CL and Lune that were hard carrying Phase 1 and Phase 2. And then I had Verso Monoko in place for Phase 3, so that Verso could do some damage because he was built pretty well and maybe carry us over the finish line. And I had all sorts of strategies in place. Like my main goal as I finished my previous attempts was that I discovered Skybreak can scale very, very heavily, which is Lune's Gradient 3 attack. And my theory was that Simon is unable to transition to Phase 3 until the turn of the current player has ended. And because we have Cheetah, we have 2 turns. So my goal was to get him as close to 30%, which is the Phase 3 transition, set him up so that Simon had Mark and Defenseless on, and that Lune had double damage Fortune's Favor from CL. She was set up to do a Genesis, and we would go to Lune, drop an enormous Genesis, and then would drop a Skybreak on her second turn. And in theory, if everything went well, based on the numbers we'd seen in the past, I've had Genesis hit for 17 million at its max, and I've seen a 14 million Skybreak. So, you know, combined, we're talking 30-odd million damage. And that should leave us with, at my guess, he has like 100+ million HP, is it leaves us with like 5 or 6 million for Monoko and Verso to try desperately to carry us over the finish line in P3. And an ideal scenario would be he would attack with the slow combo, which is only 10 parries. Only 10. 10 perfect parries and getting a counter there, which I've seen do somewhere around 4.5 to 5 million counter damage if it's on Verso. Now, every time I had gotten to Phase 3, though, he always did that combo first. I think it's in his schedule as he, like, eases you into the fact that he's doing triple attacks now. But it was always on Monoko, whose response was like, I don't know, 400k or something like that, right? A tenth of the damage we could maybe get out of Verso. So I was like, hopefully that also lands on Verso, or maybe we can get it. I had this whole thing. And then I was going to change it around, because my Mael is useless. So I was like, maybe what I do is actually make Mael into a base attack beast. And the reason she's useless is we just don't have the resources to do stuff with her. She's underleveled, and she has no Lumina. So she's way behind the scaling curve, right? She hasn't even got a good weapon by any means. So I was like, if I make her a base attack person who can do like 6 or 7 base attacks, because we've got the Lumina to do that, then maybe, and give her like greater defenseless, then she can really heavily debuff the boss when it transitions over to Lune and CL. So that was one of my plans. Maybe make Minoko more of a DPS character so that they're both blasting and just hope to get that damage out. I had all these ideas. I would love to tell you right now that I fought the good fight. I would love to tell you that this was Alatreon 2. If you missed our Monster Hunter World, I did Alatreon blind, and that took 4 days of effort to get across that finishing line. I would love to tell you that. We one-shot him. It's not a one-shot as in, like, first try, but one-shot on the day. We got all set up. I talked to my stream about all these ideas I had, and I was like, right, well, first of all, we need to get back into the rhythm of the fight. I was talking about the ideas of, like, how we're going to transition and things like that. I was like, I need to get back into the rhythm and pacing of the fight to relearn some of the earlier parry combos so that we safely transition to later on. Yeah, we didn't even have... In fact, the ending is so lackluster, it's a little disappointing, but my strategy works. Like, I'm not super sad. My strategy works. It just happened to happen first time as we got to that, like, 32%-ish mark. Maybe 33. I set everything up with Lune. It wasn't perfect. I don't think I had markup or anything like that. I was like, it's not ideal, but we need to try this to see if this closely works. The Genesis didn't do anywhere near 17 million. I think it did like 10. And Skybreak did like 7. So I got like 17 million damage, which put him into phase 3 with about 8 or 9% left. I did a couple of attacks, and then I got really stressed out because both Minoko and Verso had died, which means they couldn't auto-revive. And considering the speed of Simon, I was like, I'm pretty sure if any of them die again, they're just going to be erased from the battlefield, and if that's Verso, we're in trouble. So I was really considering my last couple of moves that I had. And I remember, like, sitting in debate for maybe a minute or more of, like, what do I want to do here perfectly? I want to get powerful on Verso, and I want to do this and this, and I think I need to shoot, and I need to pray that I proc Burn or Mark to generate AP off this gunshot in order to generate, like, a Steel Strike or something like that. I need to be at 9 AP, and I was really, like, umming and ahhing about it. I was like, I think that's the best way to go. This might screw us. And I shot him, and it turns out he doesn't die at 0%. At least on the visual. He died to the gunshot. And I was like, oh. Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, and then it's done. So that was Simon. He is beaten. The strategy did work. It just didn't go... it didn't go as in-depth as I was maybe hoping it would do, but ultimately we'd done the learning and learned how to beat him the day before. It's just that we didn't enact it. I will say, playing the game for like 8 to 9 hours in a session is very exhausting, especially when you're doing hard bosses. So maybe it was just the sleep buff. I was like, oh, okay, I was a little better with just how to handle the fight in general. But Simon was down. And then it was time for, like... I didn't know I'd killed the hardest boss. I still had, like... Lamp Master, Super Lamp Master, and I had Big Worm to do and things like that, and a couple of zones to explore. I had something called the Endless Tower, which I found. Again, I didn't know what these things were. I'm just going to places that I've not visited yet. So they're on the map as an icon, but they've got no name above them, which means you haven't been in there. So I basically went there and ended up in the Endless Tower. That was really fun. I actually got baited here because it was like stage 1. 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, stage 2, 2-1, 2-2. And when it got to like stage 10, I was like, my God, are there going to be 33 of these stages? And I really got stressed out. So I turned the music up. I was strapped in. I was in full degenerate mode. And it is 33, but it also includes the 3 of the sub-stages. So I actually finished it on the next go. And I was like, oh, stage 11 was the last one, because 11-3 is, you've done 33 in total. So I finished the Endless Tower. And then I was like, okay, let's go and try Lamp Master. And I hadn't tried Lamp Master, the unlockable painted Lamp Master, for a couple of days. And by this point, I actually just one-shot it. It was just dead. And I was like, what is going on here compared to Simon? And then, like, Simon was the hardest boss. I was like, oh, okay, so we've actually done the super boss already. That makes sense. But I still haven't done the worm. The worm that, like, drains your shields and steals all your AP. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to come up with some really tricky build here where we, like, proc a ton of AP off gunshots or something along those lines because he drains all your AP. So the idea is that you can't use your mega attacks all the time. We'll probably need some shield breaks. So we might need to go and level Mael. But again, this was it's like more of a mid-tier boss, and we just killed it. It was no big deal. Again, a little disappointing maybe, but also like you're just strong enough, so it's whatever. And then I discovered another zone where we fought Claire. This fight was not easy. It wasn't as easy as the others. I did not one-shot this. This was like 4 goes because Claire constantly heals herself, which was fun. A nice, fun fight. Like, definitely a step down from Simon by several grades, but a nice, interesting fight to deal with Claire and actually get some good lore alongside with Claire of her motivations to try and make her not as evil as maybe I first thought, along with the Claire stuff. So that was a great fight. And then it kind of became apparent, it's like, you've done everything now. Like, there is some bits and bobs to do, but you've done all the, like, major boss encounters. So I was like, all right. There's still stuff I don't have. I don't have several logs. I haven't rescued all the children. I haven't unlocked all the mansion yet. So that we did use, like, wikis and maps. It was like, where are all the children? Okay, we went and got all the children. Very disappointing reward, which was just Color of Lumina. I was like, okay. For rescuing all the kids, you're like, good job. Here's some Color of Lumina, which is less than what you would get from just killing a couple of mobs. And I was like, oh, okay. Fair, I suppose. That was definitely... You do get a rock breaking thing earlier, but whatever. And then it was like uncovering all the mansion things was interesting. I had 3 doors remaining in the mansion. So we found out where they were. 2 of them were open world, but the most important one was actually a door that I had found already. But they bait you, because once you're in there and you're looking for things to do, you could break a window. And if you go through that window and come out, it doesn't open the door in the mansion for you, because the way you open the door in the mansion is to just turn straight around and walk back out again. And I didn't do that, apparently, so I had to go back and find that one again. Opening all the doors to the mansion didn't even pop an achieve. I actually thought it was quite nice, because it made me suspect that I hadn't done everything, but we double-checked. I put the painting, I'd been in the secret room with the dogs. I had done everything in the mansion, but no achieve popped, so I was like, okay, cool. And then it was time to find the rest of the logs. Again, I had 4 remaining, I think, but it turned out to be 5 because there's secret ones from Renoir. But I'd found, and then I went around and found all those to find all the details and things that was going on for every expedition. And did that as well. Found every log, did get an achieve pop that you've done everything there. And that's where I decided to call it a stop. I think that was everything. I've done every log, I've done every boss that's... there's probably some enemy somewhere that's like a chromatic thing, but I would one-shot it anyway at this point. Certainly done all the super bosses, collected all the logs, done all the mansion, collected all the children, and the only things I'm missing are definitely some pictos, like on some vendors, which would require farming money. I'm not going to do that. Farming money and leveling people up. But that's the end of Expedition 33. My final conclusion here is, my god, this is the first game I've really wanted to do New Game Plus on. A lot. But I'm going to wait for loadouts. I was thinking about it over the weekend. I was at home and I was like, I could start New Game Plus because I just want to play more of the game. I don't just want to go and farm mobs over and over again, which is what I do in my first, in fresh New Game. I want to do New Game Plus probably. But what I want to do there is actually mess around with the characters a lot. I want to have like different teams working together and working those synergies out and seeing what crazy things I could do with them. And I want to keep changing them around. But I don't want to mess around with all their Lumina all the time. So I'm going to wait for loadouts before I do that. Chris is doing the exact same thing, actually. He is doing... he's modded the game. Mods are already out for it. Modded the game that it does include loadouts and setups and things like that. But I'll wait till they put it into the game proper before I mod it. But he's done that. He's included some other ones where it gives you proper level bandings for each of the areas. So you can kind of have a linear progression on the open world. So you should always have a challenging fight everywhere you go. That makes sense to me as well. So I'm just going to chill a little bit and then go back into it. But the fact is that I want to continue playing. Because I never got to use Monoko or Mael in any reasonable way, and I want to do that. I want to see what happens if I don't just have Lune destroy everything. So I might bench Lune for a bit and then bring in somebody else. Sayel can be an enormous damage dealer. I never used her that way. Same with Monoko. Mayel apparently does a lot of damage. On Mayel. Okay. My final thoughts here. Mayel's super weapon, which every one of you watching this knows about, and I don't know how you found out about it. Some of you will have found it naturally. For sure. But I did say I predict there's some specific way of getting this weapon, because I'd seen this weapon mentioned thousands of times in my chat, especially by travelers. And I didn't pick it up naturally, so I'm like, there's definitely some weird way of getting this. And there is. There is. You have to do the Gestural Village Tournament, which you get very early in the game, but you have to do it with Mayel. If you don't do it with Mayel, everybody else gets just a weapon that's attainable everywhere else in the game. Like, repeatedly. If you do it with Lune, you get a weapon which is also available just lying out in the open world multiple times with different levels. The same with CL or whatever, right? But if you do it with Mayel, you get this super special, most powerful weapon in the game for her. If you want to make a one-shot build. It's not the most powerful weapon in terms of, like, it's just unmatchable by anything else. That's not really the case. What it is, though, is it sets you up to make the ultimate Mayel one-shot, which clearly a lot of people played with. It was hilarious to me how ego-driven people were who had clearly done this and had either been naturally found it, because if you find that and you just stick with Mayel the whole time, yeah, you would end up just as I did with Lune and Verso, making an extraordinarily powerful character that can smash things to pieces. But how many people definitely looked up a guide for this? I would be amazed. I'm not bothered about that. Looking up a guide is nothing interesting. But when I actually found out how you do it, and the only alternative way of getting the weapon is to go back and kill Golgra, the chef, which is way, 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 way harder than doing the normal basic tournament, I was like, so you kind of all did this very... Or at least I'm talking to the people who came in very smugly, like, wait, you don't have... I can't remember what it's called, Medallum? Wait, Ismael doesn't have Medallum? Like, idiots. I mean, thousands of that. Really funny. Really, really funny. But it is always a reminder when it comes to games with builds, and it's not unknown to me, because like I said, I've made guides for over 10 years. You know what I mean? I was the guide maker. I was that guy. When it comes to builds with loads of choice and stuff, how quickly we as gamers, like, okay, but what is the meta build? And I'm going to go with that. And it was this was such a strong reminder of how many people did that straight off the bat. I would say on this, as much as I'm okay with it, try doing it without it sometimes. It's okay. Every game, at least decent game, is designed to be beaten without having the absolute best stuff. They are. And I've proven this time and time and time and time again. If you've got some modicum of gaming knowledge, you're going to be fine. I even did it with Path of Exile, right? Sure, in a game like Path of Exile, you're going to struggle to do, you know, the super ubers in the game, because that's designed for min-maxing to the extreme. That's what it's for. But for the vast, vast, overwhelming majority of the game, you're going to be fine without having to follow meta builds and things like that. And certainly in games like this, you're going to be fine. You don't need the ultimate mega stuff. You're going to have a very, very comfortable time without it. You're not just going to one-shot everything. And I will say that after we talked about this here, Chris looked at me and he went, yeah, so I'll be honest with you, I just one-shot Simon. Because, I couldn't survive. So I just built a one-shot. I just built a one-shot build. I get it, but I would encourage anybody, just next time something like this comes along, just try it blind for a while. Even if you've got choices, make mistakes. It's fine. It's fine. Nothing's going to happen. No one's going to show up and shoot you. And you might find that you end up being, as I am sometimes, a little confused. When people are like, oh yeah, I just went through and one-shot everything. And you're like, how did you do that? And they're like, oh, well, if you do X, Y, and Z with Mayel, I found it online, you just kill everything. And you might end up in my smug, arrogant position where you're like, that sounds really boring. I prefer my way. Sniffs own farts. You might. It'll be fun. All right. Onwards to the next game. New adventure awaits. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.